And welcome back to Scott Speaking Sports today, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back with my dad today. We are here to do my college football and NFL predictions for this weekend. So let's get into those right now.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Let's get into another great year of Scott Speaking Sports, even though it's going to be another fun year. So let's see what happens. First up, Duke and Ole Miss tomorrow. In Jacksonville, I'm going to go with Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is a much better team, so I'll go with Ole Miss in Jacksonville against Duke.
It's a strange matchup. It felt like Ole Miss was probably one of the best teams on the outside looking into the 12-team playoff. The fact that they drew Duke as opposed to, say, Michigan or a better program is surprising me, so I do think Ole Miss will win pretty handily.
Next up, North Texas and Texas State. I will go with Texas State. I think they've been the better team, so I'll go with Texas State over North Texas.
I don't really know the difference in the two, honestly. North Texas, Texas State, but I'm actually going to go the other way. I'm going with North Texas.
Next up, Virginia Tech and Minnesota. I'm going to go with PJ Fleck and Minnesota to get the win here. I think Minnesota's been the better team this year, so I'll go with Minnesota over Virginia Tech.
I agree with Scott. The Big Ten has actually done very well in the bowls. They just beat two SEC teams yesterday, and so I think the Big Ten will win here as well.
You mean Wednesday, right?
Yes.
Tuesday.
Yes.
Yeah. Next up, Buffalo and Liberty. I'm gonna go with Liberty. I think Liberty's gonna get the win here on the road in the bowl game against Buffalo.
I think Liberty probably is a better program right now. I think it's always tough to tell these bowl games, but I'm going to go with Liberty as well.
Next up, Montana State and North Dakota State in the FCS championship game. You never bet against the Bison. I will go with North Dakota State to get the win. I think Corso the Bison's going to get it done. I'll go with North Dakota State over Montana State.
Montana State's been the number one seed all year. They've been the best team this year in college football and the FCS. I think Montana State gets it done. Now in NFL, right?
Now to the NFL games. Yep. Just give me a second here. There we go. First game out, Browns and Ravens. No Thursday Night Football this week as we go just into Saturday and Sunday this week. Browns and Ravens first game out. I will go with Baltimore. I think Baltimore locks up the AFC North with a win at home over the Browns.
I agree. The Browns are terrible at this point. They have nothing to play for. The Ravens win big.
And that would lock up the 3 seed, I believe, for the Ravens. And that could potentially set up a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson matchup in the second round of the playoffs, which would be awesome. A very interesting game.
Very interesting.
Next game out, Bengals and Steelers. I've picked against my buddy Terry Gill the last 2 weeks, and it's paid off. So I'm going to unfortunately do it again. I think the Bengals are coming into the last week of the season. You always look for who needs to win more, and right now that would be Cincinnati. So give me Joe Burrow and the Bengals to pull it off on the road over the Steelers.
It's hard to pick against Joe Burrow right now. He's playing probably the best football of any quarterback in the NFL right now. But because of Terry Jewell and the heart of the Steelers, I'm going with the Steelers to get the win over the Bengals.
And that would end the Bengals season, so there you go.
So,
next up, Panthers and Falcons, 1 o'clock on CBS. Just to give me some more ways into the playoffs, I'm going to go with Carolina to pull off the upset. I think Bryce Young and the Panthers are going to play well. I think they actually want to win this game. I think the entire NFC South hates the Falcons more than they hate us. So I will go with Carolina to pull off the upset over the Falcons.
I can disagree with Scott. As much as I would like Panthers to win, the Falcons are the better team. They took Washington overtime on the road last week. I think the Falcons get the win here.
Next up, the Commanders going in to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Give me the Commanders. I think the Commanders don't really have much to play for here except for maybe the 6th seed instead of the 7th seed. So I'm going to go with Washington to get the win over the Cowboys.
Now the Cowboys have shut down CeeDee Lamb, and I watched the Commanders game last week. They're a resilient team. Jay Daniels is the real deal. I like the Commanders.
Next up, the Chicago Bears heading into Green Bay to take on the Packers. A little bit of a scary game here. I could absolutely see the Bears winning this game, but I don't think it's going to happen. I'm going to go with Green Bay at home over the Packers.
The Bears are pretty dysfunctional right now. I think the Packers are smarting over their loss against Minnesota. I think the Packers bounce back and get the win.
18 degrees at Lambeau Field on Sunday. So, yeah.
Chilly.
Next up, the Houston Texans heading into Tennessee to take on the Titans. For some reason, the Titans are favored here, but yeah, I'll take the Texans, I guess. Maybe C.J. Stroud doesn't play this game. This pick could change during the week, but I'll take the Texans to get it done over the Titans.
I think the Titans are going to win this game. I think that after the injury to the wide receiver, you could tell the Texans really took a step back against the Ravens. Stroud did not look like himself. And as Scott said, I'm not sure Stroud's even going to play. Titans are basically, this is just almost their Super Bowl to try to get some momentum into next year so that the Titans get the win here.
Next up, the Jags heading into Indy to take on the Colts. Neither team has anything to play for. So you just take the better team here. Now, for me, that's the Colts. I will take Indy to get it done at home over the Jags.
Yeah, all these guys at this point are just playing for future contracts and a future job. And I agree with Scott. I think the Colts are the better team. They get the win.
Next up, the Buffalo Bills heading in to Gillette to take on the New England Patriots. Not much of Josh Allen this week. But I'm going to go with New England. I think I'm going to go with Buffalo. I think New England wants to keep that number one pick and take Travis Hunter out of Colorado. So I will take Buffalo on the road over New England.
This is a tough one because when they rest their starters, who knows if their backups can beat the Patriots starters. But I'm gonna go with the Bills as well. I think that they are gonna play for pride and win this game.
Next up, the New York Giants heading into the Link to take on Saquon and the Eagles. I don't see a lot of starters playing this week for the Eagles. They've pretty much locked up the 2 seed. So I'm going to go with the Eagles to get it done at home over the Giants.
Eagles have an interesting dilemma because you have Saquon Barkley, who could get the all-time rushing record for a single season. But they don't need this game. I think they end up playing Barkley. I don't know if they've made that decision yet. I think they end up getting the win against the Giants.
I think they'll probably play him for about a half and then
see how he's doing.
Shut him down after that. Next up, the New Orleans Saints heading into Tampa to take on the Bucks. 63 degrees on Sunday in Tampa.
Chilly.
I will happily take Tampa Bay in this game. I think Baker Mayfield's going to learn from that horrible performance he had in New Orleans back in October. I think Tampa Bay gets the win at home over the Saints.
Saints always had the Bucks number, but the Bucks need this game much more than the Saints. I'm concerned that's going to cause us to come out and play tight. I think this game will be probably a field goal game, but I do think the Buccaneers win.
I'll take us to win, but no cover. I think 13.5 is a little bit too steep. I'll take the Bucks to win this game by about 10 points. Something like that.
Fair enough.
Next up, the Denver Broncos hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. No surprise with the line here. Denver favored by 10 with no Mahomes, no Kelsey. The Chiefs are just scared to see Joe Burrow and the Bengals in the playoffs. I think they're chicken. So I will go with Denver to give the Chiefs what they want, and that's the Broncos in the playoffs. I will go with Denver at home over the Chiefs.
Yeah, the Chiefs are going to rest their starters this week. Broncos have demonstrated themselves to be a much improved team. I agree. I think the Broncos get the win here.
Next up, the LA Chargers heading into Vegas to take on the Raiders. Chargers don't really need the win here, already in the playoffs after the win last week. So I'll go with the Chargers to get the win on the road in Vegas against the Raiders.
This is a tough one because, as Scott said, the Chargers don't really need a win, but they're just the superior team. And I think Harbaugh believes in playing the season out, so I do believe the Chargers will get the win.
Next up, the Seattle Seahawks heading into LA and SoFi to take on the LA Rams. I will take Seattle. I think the Rams are going to sit their starters this week, based on what I've heard from their coach. So I'll go with Seattle to get the win out on the road. 6-1 away from home this year are the Seahawks. So I'll go with Seattle to get the win on the road over the Rams.
I agree with Scott. I think the Rams rushing their starters will make the difference. I think Seattle gets the win on the road.
And I would like to thank the Rams for sitting their starters this week, because that would open the door for the Bucs to get the 3 seed, which is going to be a much easier matchup for us next week.
If we beat the Saints.
In the playoffs.
Yeah.
Next up, the Miami Dolphins heading into New York to take on the Jets. The Dolphins need a win and some help this week to get into the playoffs. I think they'll take care of their business, but I don't think they get the help. But I'll still take the Dolphins at home on the road in New York against the Jets.
Is Tua playing this week?
No idea.
Okay. I'm going to bet the 2 is not playing. If that's the case, I think the Jets are going to win their last home game against the Dolphins.
Next up, the San Francisco 49ers heading into Arizona to take on the Cardinals. I'm going to go with Brock Purdy and the 49ers. They look pretty decent on Monday night. So I'll take the Niners on the road over the Cardinals.
Neither team really has anything to play for, but the 49ers, as Scott indicated, looked very good offensively last week, and so I also agree. I'll take the 49ers.
Next up, the Minnesota Vikings heading into Ford Field to take on the Lions.
Game of the week for sure.
Game of the year, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Winner of this game goes to the playoffs. Winner of this game wins the division, gets a week off next week. Losers got to go on the road next week to either LA or Tampa, which they're not going to be used to because of the weather. How beautiful it is in those two cities and how cold it is for them, for the other team. Tough. I'm going to take the Vikings. I think the Vikings are a better team right now. The Lions are banged up. They got no defense. I'm going to take the Vikings on the road to avenge the loss they had earlier in the season against the Lions. I'll take the Vikings on the road over the Lions.
If the Lions were fully healthy on defense, I would take the Lions here, but they're not. So the Vikings have a better defense than the Lions. Both teams are very good offensively. I agree with Scott. I think the Vikings are going to win in a very, very close competitive game.
And just for a special week this week, because there wasn't a lot of picks to make this week, there's a few matches on the Raw debut on Netflix that we'll be picking today. So let's get into those. First came out, Tribal Combat, Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa. I think Roman Reigns is going to win this match with the help of The Rock, and then that could put things in place for Roman Reigns versus The Rock at WrestleMania. So I'm going to go with Roman Reigns to defeat Solo Sikoa on Raw.
I agree with Scott. I don't know all about The Rock getting involved, but I do think that Reigns will beat Sikoa. He's the superior wrestler and bigger name.
Next up for the WWE Women's World Championship, last woman standing. That's going to be Liv Morgan taking on Rhea Ripley. I will go with Rhea Ripley to get the win here. I think Liv Morgan's title reign's been way too long. It's not been what I've been wanting it to be. So I'll go with Rhea Ripley to defeat Liv Morgan and become your new Women's World Champion on Raw.
I'm going the other way. I think Liv Morgan, as Scott said, has underperformed as a champion. I think they feel like getting a win here is going to be the boost she needs, and she's going to have a great 2025. Give me Liv Morgan in this match.
Next up, CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. Probably one of the best promos I've ever seen out of the two guys on Raw this past Monday. So I'm going to go with CM Punk. I think WWE is very big on him for this year. So I'll go with CM Punk to defeat Seth Rollins.
Yeah, I think CM Punk has been underutilized since he's come back to WWE. I think this is going to be the big push he needs in 2025. I would argue he's one of the 3 best people on the mic, maybe in the history of wrestling. So I like CM Punk to win this one as well.
Next up, Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre. This is the year of McIntyre for WWE, I believe. So I'm going to go with Drew McIntyre to defeat main event Jey Uso on Raw.
Who's the Yeet guy? Jey or
Jey Uso.
So this is the Yeet guy?
Yes.
I'm going to take the Yeet guy to beat McIntyre. This Yeet thing, with WWE, it's all about one word, simple messages. Yes, Yeet. It gets over. I like Uso.
And then John Cena's retirement tour begins on Monday night. I don't think he's going to do much. He might just announce that he's going to enter the Royal Rumble. I think that's about all we'll see from John Cena on Monday. And that will do it for this episode of Scott Speaking Sports. I will see you guys right back here next week on Scott Speaking Sports, where I'll be doing the college football playoff semifinals and the NFL playoff predictions. And I'll see you guys right back here next week on Scott Speaking Sports. See you later, guys.
See you guys.
Happy New Year!